Hey everybody, been out doing a tile job today out by Nelson's Hollow up on Beaver Lake today, and as I stood there and looked at the lake out of this house, it made me think of a winter technique that's done me extremely well over the years, and has actually won me a couple of winter championships and some early spring tournaments when the water was super cold, like uh, when creek arms had frozen over and the water had got down into the 30s. Uh, this technique really shines. It's kind of complex, but I'm going to walk you through it. And what it is fishing springs. So all over the lakes and these reservoirs that they built over the years, there are old springs that still push up spring water out into the lake or through a little valley into the lake. And spring water usually is constantly a 51 degrees as it comes out of the ground. And when you're talking about a lake that has 36 or 38-degree water in it, a place that has 50-degree water running in it is going to be a prime spot. And there's a couple of different scenarios that's really shines in, and I'm going to walk you through those. So first things first, I like it when it's a technique that works when the water gets really cold or really hot. It's a technique that'll also work in the hot summertime. So, but we're just going to talk about the wintertime. Uh, Over the years, for sure on my home lake of Beaver, just spent so many hours trolling down the bank and watching my temperature gauge constantly and noticing variances in temperature, and then kind of investigating that area a little bit better, and found these areas that have springs that are popping up out of the ground and underneath the surface of the water, and creates a hot spot in the back of a creek or in a cove or on a flat. It could be really anywhere, but they can be kind of easy to find. So you can go about anywhere in the country, and if you look at the shoreline and the cover, the trees and things like that, you can begin to realize that if there's a lot of willows or sycamores grouped up in a little depression or something like that, there possibly could be a spring in that area. If there's water oaks there, uh, there could be a spring in that area. Or if you just look up on the hillside and you see a little indention and it's kind of a little water coming down, there could possibly be another place in that area under the water where a spring is pushing warm water into the lake. Uh, where this really shines is when you have a lake that maybe we get a really cold rain and the lake uh, is really stained, muddy, and you have muddy water everywhere that's in the 30s. And wherever these springs are at, there'll be little pockets of really clear, warm water. And you can go to the backs of these creeks and just start trolling and look for some blue water or a little blue spot in all the muddy water and find you a spring. I like to go into the creek arms and look for anywhere that you have like a sudden spot of bluff rocks just along a bank, and all of a sudden there's just like a little cutout with some bluffy stuff. Any of those kind of areas could possibly have a spring coming down through those stones. So you always want to troll through those and watch your temperature gauge, see if you see a rise in temperature or some blue water along the edges of the rocks. Also going into the very backs of what I call our live creeks. These are creeks that have water running in them all the time. So they're spring fed. Uh, you can learn those by trolling to the back of them. They've always got a little trickle of water running in them. Those will become clear in the back. And what you have is you have that 51-degree water coming out into the cold water. So lots of times what I've seen is right where the water is coming out of the spring, it may be 50, but out into the lake, it's in the high 40s, so 46, 45. But when the main lake is 38 degrees, 45 is going to be an active zone for the fish and the shad. And many times you will come up on one of these clear spots in a creek arm or something like that, and there'll just be millions of shad piled up into that 40-degree, 45-degree water, and the clear water just hoarded up in there, and the bass will be there with them. So that's kind of how I go about looking for them, and it just takes time. It's just looking and watching your temp probe, and just covering a lot of water till you find them and mark them. And it can be a technique that you're going to end up fishing the whole lake. So you may have a spot in a creek in one area that's got a spring, and when the conditions are like this, you only want to fish there. You're going to go fish that area where that water is, and then you're going to need to leave that entire creek and go maybe 10 miles down the lake to the next one that's just like it. And then just make that the pattern for the day. So you end up running a lot in between spots, but it's ultra productive. You're hitting high percentage areas. And the way I like to fish those is really, there's only 3 baits that I really like to use in that scenario. And the number one is going to be a 3/8 ounce willow leaf white and chartreuse spinnerbait. I like the Colorado willow combination in the cold water. It keeps the bait down better instead of wanting to lift with the 2 willows. I usually add a white trailer of some sort and just slow roll that spinnerbait where the new water is mixing with the spring water. A very effective bait. Won a lot of money throwing a bait just like this one in those spring areas. Another bait that's really effective in that same zone is white or white and chartreuse with an Indiana blade. Something like this bait here. If that's not working, I will a pearl fluke really shines in this scenario. Sure enough, where that spring water fills up the back of a creek or an edge of a bluff hole or something like that, the water will get ultra clear, and the fish are really spooky in those areas. They'll gang up in there, but if you get too close to them or get up on them, they'll spook easy. And a pearl white fluke has been very effective in that scenario for me. I can stay way back off of them. It's subtle. It catches a lot of fish, and even in the 40-degree water. And you just fish it ultra slow, almost let it lay on the bottom. This bait will work extremely well in that situation early in the year like that. Now we're talking January through mid-March. And last but not least, just a 3/8 ounce brown jig, spider jig with a little critter crawl trailer. Any of the zones where you've got a little channel cut bluff bank that's got a spring in it, this is probably by far the best bait you can pick for that scenario. You can find some little channel spots like that have a spring in it and catch a multitude of bass just pitching this little jig up to the bank and working it through where that spring area is. It's super effective. Those are the 3 baits I'm going to use. They're all fishing them really slow, and they're all extremely effective. So if you're out there this spring, this winter, right now is prime time to be looking for those. Now the lake has got really cold. Just spend some time, watch your temperature gauge really close as you go in and out of pockets and creeks. If you paid any attention out in the woods hunting or anything where you've seen springs before, just as you look at the hillside, really go, man, I bet there could be a spring right here. Start paying attention in that part of the lake. More than likely, you'll find you a couple, and more than likely, you'll find you a good group of bass that you can capitalize on. Big fish like those, bait fish like them, and it can be a killer. Like I said, I've won a couple of different championships fishing springs and multiple spring tournaments fishing spring areas where spring water comes up. So hope that helps you catch some more fish as we move into the new year, and good fishing.